Good evening, everyone.
Cars going crazy outside.
I was informed that we have a new guest here tonight, that maybe that's the first time they hear a lecture about Judaism. I was planning to do a little bit deep shiur, but maybe the first 10-15 minutes I'll speak maybe more to a level of beginners, and then we move on to a higher level. One way or the other, I brought you here 3 CDs, and there is the Torah and Science DVD. Every Jewish person in the world must watch it and know it by heart. It's a very good thing. Just for general knowledge, it's great. Before we even talking about becoming religious, keeping mitzvot, believing, don't believe, just to know, it will educate every Jew to the minimum amount of knowledge that a person must have. It even applies to non-Jews, because it's this DVD has few interesting things in it. One, it proves to you there is a creator to the world. We're only talking proofs, not beliefs. Believing means not knowing. It's nothing. In my eyes, at least, it's nothing. When a person says, I believe, there's not enough reason to change your life based on a belief. Most of the beliefs in the world are false beliefs. I wouldn't be exaggerating by saying that more than 90% of the beliefs that people have on earth are completely off the truth. Therefore, if we follow the majority, why should I follow any belief, right? So that's why I don't want to focus on believing. That's the Christian way. Over there you have to believe. The Muslim way you have to believe, because there's no proofs that it's divine. But by us, we are the first religion, the most authentic one. It's the only book that was given in front of millions of witnesses. No other religion started with a public event. All of them started with the story of one individual who came and made up a story. Nobody ever witnessed that. And when you review their books, you find that it's full of human errors. Now, if you're clever enough, you don't have to be a genius, but if you're clever enough, after reading 2-3 pages from those books, you find human errors. So some of these non-Jews, they're clever. They read it. They want to be Christians, but they see there's a lot of human errors. So they write to me. It never worked out in my head. All my life I've been trying to be a Christian, but every time I was reading it, I saw that it cannot be God wrote it, because it's full of mistakes that little children won't even do, right? And then, same thing by Islam. You read, you see some human errors over there. So always the answer is going to be, you're not allowed to ask questions. You have to believe. But in our Torah, the great part about it, that the Torah not only allows to ask questions, the Torah encourages a person to ask questions. The entire Talmud, if you ever saw a page of a Talmud, the entire Talmud is thousands of questions and thousands of answers. Any kind of question that a person may thought about, it's in the Gemara, in the Talmud. Anything. Who is God? What was here before him? What's going to be here after him? Who made the world? How he made the world? Why in 7 days? What's the difference between Jews and the rest of the world? What's the combination of body and soul? So many things. The free choice. How does it work? What's the difference between us and the animals? If the difference is the divine soul and we are choosing to do good or bad and we subject to our actions, and we either get rewarded or punished, which is different than the animals that lives by instincts. In that case, how, if God knows the future, we're still able to choose? If we already saw our end, basically it limits our choices. If you already saw the end of the film, the director, he wrote the script. He's about to direct the movie. He's the only one who stands on a stage. Well, the actor's reading it. But he's the only one who knows how it's going to look, the film. Nobody knows until they see the film. He's the one, before he even started to work, he already know how it's going to look. So if he already knew me, the actor in the film, can I do other than his knowledge? It's not possible. I have to do according to his plan. That's a very problematic point. It's called the question of the free choice. So all these questions, it's all mentioned in the Talmud. Judaism are not running for any question. You're allowed to ask, how can it be that the miracle happened? Do you really believe it? Prove to me that it really happened. How do we know certain things? If we wouldn't have all these questions, it wouldn't be such a solid religion. Because when you're not allowed to ask questions, some people would still believe, some people would not want to believe. By us, it's not about believing. Actually, the believe part in the Torah, if you know a little bit the Tanakh, maybe just leave the door open, like these people can come in and out. So in the Tanakh, it doesn't really say that we have to believe in God. There's 24 books of Judaism. There's only one place that the word to believe in God mentioned, believe it or not. In the Torah, in the prophets, in the kings, in all the 24 books of the Tanakh, everywhere it refers to us as the followers of the Creator of the world, it says, you should know I'm your God. You should know me. You should know I'm the king. You should know I'm the Creator. You should know I'm watching you every second. You should know I will judge you for good and for bad based on your actions. All the nations of the world should know the hand of God. That I gave you the heart and the knowledge to know me. You know, I took you out of Egypt for the whole world to know I'm your God. It's always using the word to know. Never that they should believe. Why? Believing, it's a very low level. It's not even knowledge. You don't have if somebody comes to me and give me $1 million check and say, give me your diamond ring. It's a nice check, yes. It looks like a company check. I won't give him the diamond, even though there's 10-20% chance that the check is good. Right? On top of my head, there's 20% chance it's good. But I won't give it to him because I don't know who he is. But if I know him 50 years, and I got 5,000 checks from him, and all of them are perfect, then I know there's no problem with this person. Even if he want to lie, he can't. Even if he want to steal, it's not his nature. There are people like that, believe it or not. So after 5,000 transactions, there's a 99% chance that the check is good. So the more you know him, the more you learn about him, the more you are experienced with him, the more confidence you have to put your life in his hands. Just like in the army. If there's a new commander, the soldiers are shaking. But if as a 30 years you're with him, you know everything, you know you can rely on him, you know when he says something, he always performs. You have security. This is like everything in life. So Hashem doesn't tell the Jews, believe in me. Because he knows believing it's a very low level. So he always refers to us, you should know. But yet at the same time, one time it is mentioned to believe in me. But when it says you have to believe in me, it first says you have to know and believe and understand. 3 words. This is the right order. You should know and believe and understand. Which means if there is no knowledge about God, you don't know 100% that he exists and runs the worlds and watch over you, there is no point of talking about believing. You don't know who you're dealing with. You want to believe in him? How do you believe in something you don't know who he is? You first have to know who he is. The more you know him, the higher the level of faith you have in him. The less you know him, the lower the level of faith. If you don't ever know, if there's no way to know in the entire religion, like Christianity, not one proof, nothing, not one prophecy in the entire book, not one prophecy, nothing to prove that the book is divine. It's all based on stories, parts of history. If they happen or not, nobody knows. You have to believe. You have to believe there was JC, even though all the odds indicating that he never existed. Why? Because the story of him and the virgin and all that appears in other cultures which are older than Christianity. So it's very high possibility that somebody copied it from another fairy tale that was mentioned by another cult, and based on that, the whole story of Christianity. There's no indication he ever existed. Why am I saying what I say? Because Christianity really started between 70 and 300 years after he died. Assuming he did live, assuming he lived, the people who started to write the stories about his life, what we call the evangelists, they started to write the books of Christianity between 70 to 300 years after he died, which means none of them ever saw his face. None of them has any proof that he ever lived. It's one story after the other. Nobody can prove if he really said what he said. That's it. So based on that, almost 2 billion people dedicating their life to a belief that there's not even 1% chance it really happens. Not one witness to one of his stories. It's all stories. Nobody ever saw that it really happened. And one more thing is, when you begin to review the book, the more you find human errors, the more you know God never gave it. Plus, there's another problem. Since the Christians and the Muslims came and they say, we are not challenging Judaism. We are the witnesses to prove that God gave the Torah to the Jews. They call it the Old Testament. Same thing the Muslims, they believe in the Torah. Half of the Quran is from the Torah. Ibrahim, Sarah, all the stories from the Torah appears in the Quran. They never tried to say God never gave the Torah to the Jews. The opposite. In the Quran, in many, many places, it describes Mount Sinai, how the Jews got the Torah from God, how he took us out of Egypt, how Pharaoh was a wicked king. There's a lot of things that is copied from the Torah. So they adopted the Torah as a divine book because they know you cannot deny it. It's a big public event. You cannot deny such an event. Same thing the Christians. So what did they say? That God gave another book, which makes sense. Maybe God decided to give part 2. The only problem is part 2 have to comply with part 1, right? If you make a movie and you want to do movie XYZ, number 1. Then part 2, 2 years later you saw it was a bestseller. You want to do part 2. Part 2 has to continue where part 1 ends. Has to be the same actor, the same name, the same detail, the same house, the same neighborhood. Imagine now it's a complete different movie and they call it part 2. There's no connection. Or even worse, that in part 1 his wife was Sarah, and part 2 now his wife is Rachel, a different woman. Same story. Where the story ends, now all of a sudden she was blonde, now a black-haired woman. She's his wife. What would you say? It's definitely not the same writer that wrote those 2 films. It's a mistake, something in editing. Something went wrong in the studio. This is exactly how the New Testament is. It says Jacob went to Egypt with 70 people. All of a sudden in the New Testament, he went to Egypt with 75 people. What God doesn't remember was 70 or 75. How can he that? This is his nation. He took them he got them to Egypt and he took them out of Egypt. How 1,300 years later he gives part 2, which completely doesn't match part 1. Oh, it says that the cave of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it's in the city of Shechem, Nablus. And every fool knows it's in Hebron. This is a kindergarten errors, not some, you don't have to be a genius, a little kid knows it. Ask any 6-year-old kid in yeshiva today. Tell me, little cutie, where is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is buried? Every kid would answer, Me'arat HaMachpelah. And you ask him, where is it? They all know it's Hebron, because it's mentioned a few times in the Torah. That Abraham bought it from Ephron Achiti, he buried Sarah over there. The Torah says in Hebron. But according to them, it's in Nablus. It's a different city, Shechem. What confused them? They read another story about Joseph. Joseph is buried in Shechem. So the one who faked that New Testament wasn't exactly a genius in Torah. The details got mixed. And he made human errors. That's it. You don't have to be a genius to know not to waste a minute on this book. Not a minute. But yet, it's much easier for Christians to follow their faith and religion than Jews. Reality-wise, Jews giving me much harder time than the Goyim. When I speak to the Goyim 5-10 minutes, right away, I'm not lying, right away I say, so listen, if I want to convert, how do I do it? 10 minutes of conversation in the airport, on the plane. I was sitting one time in a plane, a wife of one of the biggest priests in America, in the South. She said that her husband have more than 500,000 followers. I don't remember the name, it was a few years ago. She was sitting next to me in a plane, an older woman, maybe 65, 70. The last 20, 30 minutes of the flight, just when we were about to land, I felt a little bit confident. I gave her the whole thing. And she was like the shock of her life. Like you see that she couldn't say a word. Like you saw on her face, she was so shocked. Like her face left no mistake, no place for mistake. She realized all my life was mistake. We follow this book, we give our life for it. They mean well, they search for God, they want to do good things, but they chose the wrong way, the wrong direction. You want to get from here to Manhattan. but you took the other direction. You mean well, you're on the way to the appointment, you're on the way to save someone's life, but you went to Eastern Long Island instead of to Manhattan. What did it help you that you meant well? You did not reach your destination. So let's move on. So the film, it's proving the brilliance of the creation. It leaves no doubt that there's a planner and he's very sophisticated, he's perfect, his plan is perfect, he has no limitation, he controls everything. Without his control, one detail in the creation would go wrong, it will mess up the entire creation. So this film shows there is a creator. Also it shows that if there is a creator, you will never find a creation without a purpose. Not once in a history somebody ever created something, and when you ask him, what did you make it for? He said, I don't know. I don't know. What do you mean? You made a book. What do you made a book for? For people to read, no? I don't know. Why did you make a camera for? I don't know what it is. I don't know. Why you made a table? I don't know. Why you made a light bulb? I don't know. You ever saw such thing? No, you never see. Why? Because you know why you never see? Because the planner, before he creates anything, first he has a theoretical plan, how to do, what to do. He thinks about all the options, and after all the plan is perfect, then comes the action part, when you begin to create. Therefore, first you have your wish, what you wanted to happen. Second, you have the plan. And third, you have the actual creation. You will never have a creation before a plan. And you will never have a plan before you have a desire for something. You want light. Because you want light, you decided to make light. How would I make light? By making a light bulb. If I never wanted light bulb will never be created. It's obvious, right? So if there is a creator, and he created such a sophisticated world, obviously he will never make the world for nothing. Has to be a purpose. Like every other creation has a purpose. Now comes the next question. Okay, so there is a purpose, but who say that I know the purpose? What's the relationship between me and him? He is there and I'm here. I don't know. Whatever his purpose was. So the answer is it possible to think that the creator of the world would create such a sophisticated machine, such a world, brains, people, animals, all the things that we see, and will never bother the people that he created to tell them what's the purpose of the creation? He wouldn't tell anyone? He would keep it as a secret from them? What's the purpose? Doesn't make sense. So far, everything I say doesn't apply only to Jews. It applies to every human being. Every non-Jew asks, what's the plan? Who created it? What are we doing here? What's the purpose of this world? Etc. Everyone. So now that's where now Judaism come into the picture. Why? Everyone is guessing who made the world, who is God, what does he want from us, why did he put us here, what's the purpose of life? Everyone is guessing. We are the only one who know 100% everything. Why? Not because we're smarter than the nations. No. The Torah says, "Chochma bagoyim ta'amin." If you see a brilliant non-Jew, it's very possible. It could be a non-Jew that is a much smarter person than a Jew, or the other way around. So wisdom everybody has. The Torah says, you only know because I gave you the secret on a gold platter, not because you're investigator or scientist that you investigated and came out with the right answer. No, I gave you a book. Torah means in Hebrew instructions, and in the Torah it says everything you need to know. It says that I'm your God. It says I created the world in 6 days. It says the order of every day. What did I create in every day? It says that the whole world was created for the human being. It says that in the 7th day I rested, and that's going to become the covenant between me and people. It says about the combination of body and soul. It's speaking about righteous people and wicked people, what to do, what not to do, what recommended to do, what's not recommended to do. It speaks about what would happen in the time we die. It's explaining what to do with the body of a person who died. Without the Torah, we wouldn't know what to do. Logically, if you see a person died without the Torah, let's go back 3,000 years before, 4,000 years before the Torah was given. Nobody knew about Torah, nobody knew about God, nobody knew about body and soul, because they never had the Torah. They see a person drop dead. Try to wake him up 1 day, 3 days, 4 days. He doesn't wake up. Okay, they know by now he's not sleeping. They already know he's dead. So what would they come up with? They have to say, what do we have to do with him? He begins to smell now. So what will be the obvious thing to do? To throw him to the ocean for the fish to eat him. What are we going to do with him? Where came the idea of making a hole in the ground and putting him inside? Why? Where does it? Let's be nice to the fish. They need food. Let's give him something to eat. Throw him in the bottom of the ocean. Or let's burn the body. Let's burn it. And then we'll pick up the bones and we hide them somewhere. Where the idea comes that the whole world understands you have to bury the body, it's very simple. It's a verse in the Torah. The Torah says, and the body will return to the ground because that's where it came from. It's a verse in the Torah. Because of that, all people in the world knows about burying people. Why the whole world have 7 days in a week? It's not the right number, 7 days. If you take a year which is 365 days and divide it by 7, it's not working. If you take a month which is 30 or 31 days and divide it by 7, it's always leftover. It's not the right math. If you have 365 days, you want to divide it to weeks, make the week 5 days. You'll have an exact number of weeks with no leftover. How come the people in Zimbabwe and the Goyim of Brazil and the people all over the world, they celebrate a week? Where they got this idea that there's a cycle of 7 days and we go back to the beginning? The answer is first page in the Torah. The Torah told us that God made the world in 7 days, 6 days, 7 days, and starting a new cycle from Adam, from his children, from their grandchildren, all over the world. Everyone knew. From the day one, we're all going by cycles of 7. And many other examples. Some of the things, it's easy to know. You don't have to be a genius. You read the Torah, you begin to understand. Some of the things in the Torah, you cannot understand on your own. You need the expert to tell you. Just like in medicine. In medicine, you know sometimes when there's fever, what to do, what not to do. You learn it in a day or two. You don't need to be a genius. But there's certain thing in medicine, you need a professor that is an expert 30 years in the field to tell you why you have such symptoms. You'll never know without him. You'll never know. You learn as much as you want on your own. You'll never know. Same thing here. To know the Torah, to know the halacha, to know the secrets of Kabbalah, you don't need just another rabbi. You need the top in the world to tell you what and where and when. Otherwise, it's very hard to know. This is what the Torah says. There's a verse, Mishpatei Hashem emet tzadiku yachdav. The Torah of Hashem, all the sentences, all the verses of the Torah are the truth, the ultimate truth, but they only visualize as the truth when they all combine together as a unit. Which means if you take from a plane few screws out, there's 1,000,000 pieces in a plane. All you need to do is take 5 or 6 screws out of the plane still need to look perfect and will crash to 1,000,000 pieces and everyone will die. If you take few verses from the Torah already, you mess up the whole truth. If I give you an example. If you take the concept of reward and punishment from the Torah, just one verse you take out, what happened right now? You messed up the whole life, the purpose of life, because everything here is a test. You take out the free choice and the reward and punishment concept, you messed up life. Not only the life of the Jews, the life of humanity. I'll give you another example. When there is a verse in the Torah, I am the only God, there was no one before me, and after me there will never be any. You take 1 or 2 words out of this verse, you take the only out, you replace it with another word, you messed up the whole world. Why? Because now people will know there's more than one God. Based on the alteration that you made, you messed up the whole world. Why? If there's 2 gods, how do I know I chose the right one? Maybe the other one is stronger. Why there's no 2? If there will be 2 gods, that means each one of them is not perfect, because somebody else can harm him. If you're under a danger or a threat of anyone, and you are able to get hurt or to be limited by someone, that means that you are not perfect and you're not a superpower. And therefore, we cannot rely on him even 1 minute, because maybe now he wants to give me good, but the other one will force him to give me bad. Or maybe the other one will hit him. Or maybe the other one will choke him. And many kindergarten possibilities, how the kids come and ask their parents, Abba, who made God? Right? And it's not only kids. I have professors who ask me this question. They tell me, okay, you say every creation have a creator, right? And the more sophisticated is the creation, it indicates about the brilliance of the creator. In that case, since God is such a great feature, whatever you want to call it, so who is the sophisticated creator who made him? Good question, no? Right? So now the kids know what they're talking about sometimes. So the answer is, it sounds a good question, but it's not a legitimate question. It's not a legitimate question. Why? I give you an example. If I take this and I present it to a little kid, 4 years old, as a gun, that it shoots and kills people. In his mind, it's a gun. Every question he will ask me will be about a gun. How does it kill people? How the bullet goes? Why the person dies from a little thing that comes into his stomach? He will ask me a lot of legitimate questions, assuming this is a gun. But if it's a pen, all the questions are not relevant. They're good for something else. Same thing over here. Everything physical has a beginning. Someone designed it, someone planned it, someone took existing material, designed it into a machine. Took plastic, it took aluminum, screws, wires, connected it together. Now you have a system. System has a beginning, system will have an end. Material, it's subject to time. Time exists only where material exists. If there's no material, there's no time. Remember this. Time, it's something in this world that without material cannot be measured. Doesn't have a value, time. You cannot measure anything. If there was no galaxies, no stars, no nothing, just space, time would not have any meaning. No one would be able to measure time. There would not be a way to measure time, and it's not relevant to anything. Time only exists where material exists. Albert Einstein said it. The Rambam said it 700 years before him, but no one knows about it because it's not mentioned in colleges, the Rambam, because he had a yarmulke, and Albert Einstein didn't. So, they like the heroes without the yarmulkes, and the beard. So Einstein got the glory, but the Rambam wrote everything Einstein said 700 years before him without going to colleges and being a scientist. Everything he wrote about time exists where material is. Okay, now there was a big argument between Aristotle and the scholars, the sages of the Jewish nation. What was the argument? Aristotle said the world was always here. The Jews came and said, no, the world was not always here. God made the world. In their time, it was about 4,000 years ago. So they came to the Greek Aristotle, the philosopher. They say, you say the world was always here. We know from the Torah. We're not scientists like you, but we have the divine book. We know according to the Torah that the world was created in a certain point. You want to know exactly how long? Let's calculate it from Adam's birthday until today. Add 6 more days to it because he was created in the 6th day of the creation. This is the age of the world. So it was an argument. Today, when the science discovered that the galaxies are expanding, they're always going far away one from each other. So space is expanding all the time. Everything is expanding more and more and more, which means if we now rewind, we go fast motion, but rewind. Everything shrink until they get to a point that everything was one ball, one piece of material that exploded and started to shift. Now we reverse everything. That's it. They cannot shrink anymore. That's it. They all got concentrated into one piece. That was the beginning point. That's how the theory of the Big Bang started. Because they realized it had to be an explosion that material expand. The only problem is the Big Bang theory has some logic in it, but it's a wicked theory. Why it's a wicked theory? Because they come and say that it was a random explosion. It was a boom, and now we have a brilliant world, people, animals, oxygen everywhere, eyes, brains, airplanes who make noise in the middle of the lecture, everything, So everything was from a random explosion. What is this nonsense? First of all, I always say, and I'm willing to swear on my life in it, that none of them believe what they say, or they wrote in their books. If you connect them to a lie detector, the machine will break from their lies. So why they continue to say it? Why? Because if they would say otherwise, nobody would want to get their books, because they would force you to be religious. Saying that the explosion was a planner job, and the planner did it, and he created everything, it's what the Jews say in Genesis. So what comes the next page? That I must keep the Sabbath, but I don't want. I want to open my store on Shabbat. I want to eat pork. I want to eat shrimps. I want to do whatever I want. I want to be a species. I don't want to be a person with reward, punishment, allowed, not allowed, decency, ethics. Who wants this headache? Let me be free. The only way to be free is to back up the wish for the freedom with false science. Remember, there's two kinds of science. There's objective science and speculative science. Technically, every normal human being should have taken the speculative science and put it in the garbage, unless it will turn into a proof. But in reality today, almost everything you hear about science, it's speculative science. Almost nothing comes from the objective side of science. It's all speculations. The age of the world, speculations. Things that are happening here, all speculations. Sometimes in history, they were able to prove some of these speculations. But for instance, the theory of Darwin, that there was a monkey who turned into a human being. That's, in the beginning, when you think about it, it sounds like a logical theory. There's only one problem. We don't ever see, ever, a proof that one species turned into another one. That he loses tail, he loses wings, anything. We see the same species stay like this for thousands of years. We don't see a drop of a change by them. So why all of a sudden one species, one monkey, will decide to turn into a human being? So they come and they say, look at the giraffe. The giraffe has a very long neck. You know why the giraffe has a long neck? You think the giraffe was made like that? It was made like a regular deer with a short neck. But what happened is they were eating the leaves from the tree. And then all the leaves in up to 6 feet, there was no more leaves. So they try to reach to the 7 feet, but they can't reach. So they stretch their neck, they stretch their neck, they stretch their neck. Every generation stretches his neck a little bit more, until now. That's what happened, because this is evolution. The species know how to adjust according to the changes in the world. It's very interesting. If we're going to stand now 500 years and try to stretch our neck, my child will be born with a longer neck? What is it? I want to have to do with that. People are born based on the DNA, not based on changes. If I chop my hand off, now my son will be born without a hand? The theory has nothing to do one with the other. Even if it's true, one particular species had some change in his body, it's nothing to do with his descendants, with what comes after. Besides, I can prove to you from the giraffe that it's all nonsense. But everyone believes what they say because nobody is used to think. Whatever they say amen. When the rabbi says something, now it's the time to say amen. Everyone say prove. But when they say something, everyone has to attack them. What is this nonsense? Nobody attacks them. Oh, the scientists say that. So let me give you an example. The giraffe. If the giraffe was made with a short neck, and now it became a 10 feet long neck, when the giraffe comes to drink water, the giraffe takes the head down to the lake, right? There's water on the ground. So now the giraffe takes 10 feet of neck right down against gravity. What happened to the 20 liters of blood that goes right down to the head of the giraffe? If the giraffe was made with a short neck, the blood wouldn't escalate, because it's not a lot. You take a glass, you flip it over. If it's very long, then the water comes from very high. So it's a much bigger attack to the brain. So the giraffe, after a certain point, when they bend down, the blood should explode the brain and make damage to the brain, because the brain is not ready to receive such a big amount of blood. There's only one thing. Inside the neck of the giraffe, before it gets to the brain, there's a valve. There's a valve. The valve is flipping inside the neck. When the giraffe is with the head up, everything is fine. When the giraffe takes the head down, the valve closes the way for the blood to go into the brain. Why? Otherwise the brain will go, that's it, 1 minute. The first sip of water the giraffe will take, it will be dead. Now tell me, evolution, random evolution, where the valve showed up one day. How they knew to create such a sophisticated valve exactly where it's supposed to be. Such nonsense, ridiculous things. But billions of people believe in it. Not only that, the people who believes in it knows that the followers of Darwin modified his theory completely from A to Z. There's nothing from what they say today compared to what he said. They still choose to believe in it. Why? It's good for business. We don't have to eat kosher. What am I going to do? I back up the rabbi. The next thing the rabbi will tell me, so why are you wicked? Why you don't listen to your creator? Why you live in a lie? You understand? So the film proved now that the Torah of the Jews could not be written by a human being. You just can't. Why? Every book that a human being would write is subject to human errors. No one remembers thousands and millions of details without making mistakes. No one would know to write 24 books and remember thousands of names and their children and their dates and the places and geography and connects everything together when it's describing a period of more than 1,000 years every day back to back without contradictions. It's not possible. Even today with computers, it's not possible. To fake such a book, it's not possible. Plus, the book is full of prophecies. Even if you say it was a genius, superpower, photographic memory, who remember everything, but is not any superpower, any genius, or any person that has photographic memory, it's good for his brilliance, but he doesn't know the future. He doesn't know what's going to happen in a year from now in the world just because he's brilliant. It's nothing to do with knowing the future. So obviously the Torah is full of prophecies. The Torah took risks that no normal person would ever dare to write on a piece of paper. Never. No one would write that the Jews is going to occupy Israel knowing the 7 big empires controlling the land and the Jews don't even have an army. Who would take such a risk? In few years everyone would know that the writer of the book, it's all baloney. He didn't keep his promise. The Jews couldn't occupy the land. The 7 empires destroyed them. And that's the end of the story. And we know that God never gave it. But the Torah say, I'm giving you the land. I'm kicking them out. You're going to take the land. You divide it to your tribes. You're going to build the Bet HaMikdash. But if you don't listen to me, I'm going to send the Goyim to destroy Bet HaMikdash. This was all told to the people way before it started. There's no way to know these things. Plus, the Torah says, I will spread the Jews all over the world, and they will always be the smallest nation on earth. Who could have taken such a risk? We started with the Chinese people in the same generation, just after the flood with Noah, with the ark. After the flood, Chinese is 1.5 billion people with the restriction on birth, and Jews only 13.2 million. How did he know will be less than anyone? How? How would he promise such a thing? What happened if there will be 3 billion Jews today in the world? How would you explain that? You're less than all the nations. So you see that the writer of the Torah has full control, full knowledge on every second that will come in the future from the time he gave out the Torah until the end of this world. There's no question that he knew everything. On top of all that, he planted inside the Torah codes that hidden in equal mathematical codes. The codes alone show that a person was unable to write this book. All the Holocaust is described in 1 page in the Torah in equal mathematical hidden codes. And it's very nice because whenever he wanted to plant a code, information for the future inside the text, he always chose a content in the Torah that it's similar to the code. So when he wanted to say that the Jews will get punished for not listening to me, for assimilating with the nations, for not keeping my laws, for changing their names, for dropping my covenant that I made with them, for trying to imitate the nations of Europe, this is what's going to happen to them. And inside, he planted Adolf Hitler, Adolf Eichmann, the Holocaust, the final solution, ghetto, Auschwitz. More than 30 words who relates to the Holocaust are hidden in one chapter in equal skips. How did he know 3,300 years before that those will be the people who would make the Holocaust to his children? How did he know? Not only that, it's inside the verse, inside the chapter, that God said to Moshe, one day, way after you'll be dead already, this nation will rebel against me. They'll drop the covenant that we make. They'll follow and imitate the Goyim. And at that time, I will be so angry at them for dropping the covenant that we made. And he described now a Holocaust that will happen to them. And inside, the word HaShoah in Hebrew, Hey, Shin, Vav, Aleph, Hey, in equal mathematical skip of 49. Comes the Torah and say, be very careful not to follow the God of the wood and the God of the rock. When was that? 3,300 years ago. When the God of the wood started, 2,000 years ago, Christianity, knock on wood, the cross. That's the symbol of Christianity, the wooden cross. So he say, be careful not to follow fake religions. That's what the Torah say. Fake gods, fake religions. The God of the wood and the God of the rock. The wood is Christianity. The rock is the stone they have in Mecca, the Muslims. All of them come in a Ramadan every year to Saudi Arabia. More than 2 million Arabs around the big rock. So the Torah say, the God of the wood, the God of the stone. Be careful not to follow these two fake religions. Now you may come and say to me, it's very nice what you say, even makes some sense, but that's not a scientific proof. You say that everything you say is scientific, no? That's 80%. 80%, it's a probability, but it's not a proof. You cannot prove to me based on what you just say that God actually meant Christianity and Islam. Right? Right or wrong? It's a proof or not? What do you think? Come, feel free. Come here. They reserve the best seats to the people who come late. That's how it is in the airport. The one who come early to the flight, according to the rules, they push their suitcases in the back. Those who are always late, they get their suitcase 5 minutes later. It comes out first. Who says it pays to follow the rules? It only pays to follow the rule when it's the rule of God. When God says, I will reward you, Baruch Hashem is not in a Congress or in the Israeli Knesset. If you count on their promises, who knows where you're going to find yourself. So we go back to what we say. So just because it says don't follow the God of the wood, the God of the rock, it doesn't really mean that he knew, the writer of the Torah, there will be Christianity and Islam. True or false? True, right? It's a high chance, but can I swear on my life that that's what he meant? The answer is yes. How? Inside that verse that's speaking about fake religions, the religion of the wood and the religion of the rock, there is a hidden code in equal mathematical skip of 49 again. 7 times 7, it's 49. 7, it's a holy number, in case you didn't know. Everything goes around 7 in Judaism. So the answer is, in the verse that's speaking about fake religions, the word Yeshu, JC, it's hidden. Yud, Shin, and Vav. How do you write JC? Right? In Hebrew. Yud, Shin, Vav. It's hidden in the text in 49 skip. And Mecca, the city Mecca, that's where the rock is, it's also planted inside the verse in 49 letter skip. Both of them. What's the odds? A book with more than 5,000 verses. The one verse who warned the Jews not to follow the fake religions, the religion of the wood, the religion of the rock, is one verse from more than 5,000 verses. In that verse, the religion of the wood and the religion of the rock, Mecca and Yeshu, right? Jesus and Mecca, that's the two main words of those two religions, are hidden inside the verse, who accidentally speaking about fake religions, and accidentally 1300 years before Christianity started knew about it, and accidentally 1800 years before Islam started knew about it? No. Now, I just gave you 3, 4, 5 things, but I have thousands. That's the point. So you watch this Torah and science, I believe you don't have questions. I already know one thing. If a person watch Torah and science and still stubborn to follow his nonsense, there's no point of wasting another minute on him. He just doesn't want to follow the rules. That's it. Because to come and say you didn't prove to me, I don't believe him in a second. Why? How can you ignore so many proofs? You know, you can't. I'll give you another example. The sun. Looking at the sun. Looking at the sun. What do you see when you look up? You see a big ball of fire. Round ball of fire, no? Okay, it looks like a projector, round. Like a light bulb, but big in the middle of the sky. By looking at the sky and the sun now, do you see the sun is surrounded with a shell? There's no way to see a shell to the sun, right? But the Torah, 3,000 years ago, King David wrote in Tehillim, Psalms, that God covered the sun in a cover. And it says that one day he will make a hole in this cover, and all the wicked people that were left in the end of time will all be burned in a second. The story over here, it's not so relevant right now. We didn't come here to speak about the future. But the idea that the Torah has already told us that the sun has a shell, it's obvious divine information. What person was able to know 3,000 years ago the sun has a shell? How? He traveled to the sun? There was no NASA, no satellite, no telescope, none of the equipment that we have today. And King David wrote, which is knowledge that we got in Mount Sinai, who went from generation to generation, L'Hashem sam oel bahem. The sun is surrounded. There's also in Tehillim as a prophecy about telephone. Who invented the telephone? Alexander Bell. There's a Bell, Southern Bell Company. I think it's a British telecommunication company. It's named after him, Bell. But before Bell, the Torah already spoke about it. Where? In Psalms. King David says, "B'kol haaretz yatsa kavam, u'bektzeh tevel milehem." The line spreads to all over the world, and you hear the voice in the other side of the world. You know that verse? Bechol haaretz yatsa kavam, u'bektzeh tevel milehem. Ktzeh tevel means the other side of the world. There's lines spreading all over the world, and people hear somebody from the other side of the world through these lines. What is it if not telephone? There's many other examples. The renewal of the moon, the number of stars in the world, what exists and what does not exist in the ocean, and many other things inside the Torah. You don't find it in the New Testament. Nothing, not even one thing. You don't find it in the Quran. You don't find it in any other book, any other cult, any other religion. Over there, there's only one thing you find. We have to believe, son. There's no permission to ask questions about JC. If we read that JC fed 500 people with a piece of bread, we have to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, it's like going against God. It's against the words of God. But if a little kid come and ask, okay, I want to believe God, but can you prove to me that this is really what happened? No proofs. You have to believe. It's all about believing. Let's move on. The Rambam, Maimonides, is one of the famous rabbis in the last 1,000 years. He lived about 850 years ago in Spain, and then he escaped to Egypt, and he became the doctor of the king of Egypt. Actually, when he arrived to Egypt, he stood by a mosque. Islam was only 450 years old in those days. Today it's about 1,300 years old. But so when the Rambam arrived to the mosque, he stood by the mosque and held a bottle of wine. And he started to scream. This is a wine that if a Muslim person will hold it, a Jew is not allowed to drink from it. He has to spill it to the garbage. The more today he wouldn't survive a minute after that. But I guess they saw the way he dressed and this. So they didn't want to kill him on the spot. So they brought him to a trial. Who was the judge? The king. They brought him to the king. The king has to judge. Who is this Jew who dared to come here from a different country? First day he arrived to Egypt, he screamed against the Muslims like this rabbi. Let's teach him a lesson. Make a trial that the whole Jews in the world would hear what would happen to them if they dare to open their mouth. So the king said to him, where are you from? He said, I just came from Spain. So he said to him, what was on your mind that you stood by the mosque and started to scream your nonsense? You really believe what you said? So he said to him, even though it's true what he said, because according to the Torah, if a non-Jew or a Jew that is not keeping Shabbat touch this wine cannot be used anymore. But that's besides the point. So he said to him, it doesn't matter what I said. I was just screaming because I knew they will bring me to you. I knew I had two ways to meet you. One will take me 30 years, one will take me 30 minutes. Now when you know me, test me in everything you want. Astronomy, math, medicine, anything you want, you talk to me. He's one of the top brilliant brains in history. In Washington, they have his statue as one of the top 18 scholars who ever lived. I always say in Washington, they never read the Talmud. If they read the Talmud, all Washington will be full of rabbis. Because the Rambam, as brilliant as it was, it's not the dirt of the nail compared to one of the rabbis who mentioned in the Talmud, in case you didn't know. And there's hundreds of them. But they didn't know. Okay, it's at least they took one representative, they put him in Washington, Baruch Hashem. So the Rambam, so the king started to talk to him. And he said, I have a treasure here. Right away, he made him his right-hand man. He was taking care of him, he was taking care of all his friends. He was a doctor. And he wrote many books. All his books he wrote in Arabic. One he wrote in Lashon Kodesh, in Old Hebrew. This is Mishne Torah. It's the most important book he wrote, Mishne Torah. The entire Jewish book of law is based on this book. It's a combination. It's a collection of all the written and oral Torah into chapters and provisions. Up to then, it was all, you have to learn it from the Talmud, which is very difficult, because you have to calculate all the calculations yourself. He already did the job for you. Bottom lines. It's all bottom lines. Allowed, not allowed, allowed, not allowed. Now, there's a lot of philosophy in this book, and also lots of science. And this is how he starts his book. It says like this: Yesod HaYesodot, the foundation of all foundations, ve'amud HaChochmot, and the pillar of wisdom, is to know, not to believe, to know. There was a beginner. There was one which was the beginner of everything. Okay? And he is the founder of everything that came after him. I started to tell you before, the kids ask, who made God? So it's not a legitimate question. Why? This question, who made who, only applies where material was made. The material has a designer who limits the size, the color, and the combination of what he made. But when you're speaking about something 100% spiritual, no material involved with him, he doesn't have time. Time doesn't connect to him. It's like two different channels. And when there's no time, there's no beginning and end. Beginning and end applies only to world of material. When the world has no material, it doesn't have beginning and end. It has beginning and end only in a theoretical imagination. Let me explain what I mean. In a dream. Scientists are proving today that when a person has a dream, it takes 9 seconds, the entire dream. 9 seconds. Now, you know, try to imagine a person goes to bed, his wife is next to him. 5 minutes after he puts his head on a pillow, she begins to hear his snoring. She knows he fell asleep. Gets louder by the minute. You know? By the second, all right. So now everyone knows he fell asleep. They see, that's it. 1 minute later, just 1 minute, maybe 5 snores we heard. That's it. He screams, he begins to cry, he's shaking, he's sweating. His heartbeat goes 200 a minute. So she said, Moshe, what happened? So, wow, thank God it's a dream. Thank God it's a dream. No, thank God it's a dream. What kind of a dream you have? So he sits on the bed, give me water. So she gives him water. I have to plan how to push the water in between. He's making movies, he knows what I'm talking about. You have to know where to push it. So you know, it's interesting that just 2 days ago I was wondering where you disappeared, and Hashem brought you to me, to my lecture. That's how the world works. You know, I had one guy, he owed money to another person, and then he became religious. When he owed the money, he wasn't religious. He became religious. In his mind, where will I find this person and I can give him the money? And the month of Elul started. It's the judgment day, it's coming Rosh Hashana. Just like now, 2-3 weeks before Rosh Hashana, every day was begging with tears to Hashem, I'm begging you, find me this person. What happened is, Erev Rosh Hashana, 20 hours before the judgment day begins, he didn't have time to take a haircut. And that's it, the Jews closed their barber shop already, they prepared for that, so they told him there's a guy in a mall. That's the only place you can take a haircut now. So he went there to the mall, he's looking, never been in a mall. Just when he's about to enter the mall, who's standing over there by the barber shop? This guy. So he hugged him, you have no idea how happy I am to see you. Right away took the money, I owe you this money from 10 years ago. And he said, I know you won't believe me, but believe me, from the beginning of the month until now, I was begging Hashem that he will get you to me. So Hashem saw he wanted to do repentance so bad, he found him. And he was able to give him the money before the judgment began, few hours. The judgment will not be the same when you have stolen money in your pocket and when you don't. So go back to what we say. So something that is not physical doesn't have beginning and an end. So in a dream, Moshe woke up from the dream, and his wife said, what kind of dream? Tell me about your dream. So he begins to tell her a story. I was going in a plane, the plane crashed. I fell in the middle of the ocean. For 3 days I was hanging to one piece. Sharks around me. 3 days I'm dying. I cannot hold it anymore. And then there's all kinds of scary things, winds, that. It got in the middle of the night. I hear the sharks around me. Then a boat came. Finally, I got a boat. For hours, I was screaming. The boat came. They picked me up. What did I find? Hezbollah terrorists. They picked me up. So, God, Allah sent us a Jew for barbecue. They took me to Lebanon. They put me in a bunker. 6 months, every day they were beating me up. Electric shots. So his wife said to him, Moshe, you only slept 1 minute. How exactly 6 months, 3 days, Hezbollah. How did it fit in 1 minute? Good question, no? How? It's in details with conversation. Where did it take place, that story? It had to take place somewhere. So the Torah says when a person goes to sleep, a part of his soul comes out of his body and go up to the upper world, spiritual world. And like I told you, over there, there's no time. The time over there, it's all a simulation only. It's not real, but it feels 100% real. Just like a pilot wants to learn how to fly a combat jet. So they put him in a room, in a special place, cabin. It's called simulator. And they are flying now the F-16, missiles, noise. They feel the G-force. You should see how the pilots comes out of there. I was in the Air Force. I used to see them coming out. the lines of the helmet was all over their face, red. Some of them had glasses. They took the glasses. You see the lines of it. Like he couldn't walk, the pilot. Right away, sat on a chair. Give me a cigarette. Sitting like this for 5 minutes to relax from the pressure. But it wasn't really a flight. We are from the outside. We see this cabin has like a motor, like in an amusement park. It moves it like this. From the outside, you don't hear what he hears in his ears. And all the G-force, we only see that he moves a little bit, up, down, that's it. But it's really 100%. I'll give you another example. In Israel, there's a place called Ganei HaTa'arucha. What is it? Amusement park. In a summer vacation, all the kids go there. So there's a place, 180-degree screen, 3-dimension. What is it? Roller coaster. There's no real roller coaster. Everyone is standing there on the floor. But it's a 3D screen. They have big signs. Someone with heart condition should not go in. I remember I one time went there, standing in the middle, everyone's standing over there, and you feel like you're in a train, and it goes high, 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 much higher than reality. Maybe like the size of the Empire State Building. And then it's about to fall down like this, straight. Everyone scream, everyone grabs everyone. Right away I couldn't look. So I look at the people, I see all the people move like this, all the people move like this, holding their heads, screams. But in reality it's not, it's all an illusion. People can die there. Nobody touch you. That's exactly what heaven and hell is. Exactly. And the Torah say righteous people go for eternity of heaven, of pleasure, or chas v'shalom, God forbid, the other way around. It's all exactly like it feels in a dream. You don't know it's a dream until you wake up. But over there, there's no waking up. That's the difference. In a dream, eventually you wake up and you say, it was a dream. Over there, it stays forever. You don't really need a body to get burned. You don't need a body to have physical pleasure. You don't need. It's all in the head. All the pleasure, everything that a person has, it's all in his head. They make all kinds of experiments. They close people's eyes and they tell them things, and then they think that it is, and then they take it off. And right away, everything changed.
Yeah, but the brain is connected to the neshama.
The neshama is the brain. It's inside the brain. Without the soul, the brain is worthless. I'll give you an example. If a person dies clinical dead, I have a film we brought here, Life After Death, also very interesting, based on science, and I show whatever scientists found, it's already in the Torah, way before them. So when a person dies, if you take a cigarette and try to burn him, anywhere you want to cut his head open, you want to take his brain out, whatever you want to do, it won't make a beep. Why? The soul left the body. In 10 minutes later, he comes back to life. The soul enters back into the body. From the second the soul connected to the brain again, he begins to feel the pain. The nerve system starting to work, which means the person that was dead right now, we burned him, he doesn't feel anything because the soul is out of the body. But everything is there, the veins, the nerves, the blood, everything is in the body. Nothing changed in the body. The machine is exactly the same machine. There's only one difference. The soul, which is a spiritual divine energy, exit the body. So the body is worthless without the soul. Even though it has all the lines, all the veins, everything that the body has is still there. But it doesn't feel anything. The interesting thing is that when the soul enters back into the body, then he begins to scream. 10 minutes we were burning him, not one beep. Then he opened up his eyes, he began to scream. Why are you screaming? Wow, my hands. Now he feels the holes that we made with the cigarettes. But when we did it before, he didn't feel anything. Same thing when they give shocks to the people that has heart attacks, right, in the ambulance. They don't scream. The body jumps from the electric. You don't hear them screaming. It's horrible pain, such an electric shock. When they're going to scream, if they already open up their eyes and then you give them the shot, I don't want to tell you how loud they're going to scream. What, a minute later, didn't feel the pain? No, the soul was out. It was dead. No pulse, no brain waves, no nerve system is not functioning. This is how it is. So what we learn from here, that everything that we feel, everything, it's all connected to the brain, which actually it's the soul. The soul goes out. Now one more thing, the soul, when the soul comes out of the body, if the person is blind, when the soul comes out of the body, when he comes back to life, he describes everything that happened in a hospital in colors. So what do we see here? The soul has no limitation. The soul sees colors, the soul sees everywhere. The soul only has limitation when it's in his physical defected body, that the blinds are blocked. But when the soul came out of the body, no more limitation. So when a blind person who could not see anything, now describing the last 10 minutes in each room in a hospital, so we learned a few things from it. One, we learned that it wasn't a dream. Because you can't dream what's in the 7th floor in a hospital. What does it have to do with a dream? It's a solid knowledge. Okay. Second, we know the soul has no physical limitation. It flies everywhere. He can describe every room in a hospital. The 3-4 minutes he was dead, he didn't have enough time to go to each room in a hospital and check who's the doctor there and who's the patients and describe everything in a hospital. He didn't have time to go on the roof of the hospital, outside, and to the place of the accident. He described incidents from both places, from the highway, 20 minutes away from the hospital, simultaneously everything that happened in every room in a hospital. So what do we see? The soul is just like God. It has no limitation, not of a distance, not of a memory, not of a vision, nothing. It pays attention to every detail. The people who died and came back to life, they were able to give details that nobody pays attention to. Why? Because right now, everything we record, we only speak about what recorded in our conscious. But what goes to the subconscious, we can't describe unless if we get hypnotized. If you hypnotize a person, he gives you details that he doesn't know, because it all goes automatically to the back of the brain, to a storage. But when the soul comes out of the body, there's no conscious, subconscious. Everything is conscious. Why? Because the soul has no limitation. It's very interesting how Hashem made it. I always like to give this example. A person came from work, and he came off the bus, and he started to walk towards the building where he lives. And his wife is watching him from the window, and she sees that he's staring at the floor. So when he gets home, she said to him, "Hey, what are you staring at the floor for 10 minutes when you walk in the street? What's so interesting about the floor?" So he told her, "Are you crazy? Who is staring at the floor? I was thinking about everything that happened at the work today." So she said to him, "You know what? I need a nail to hang a picture." So he said to her, before that she told him, "Can you describe anything? Can you describe anything on the floor that you looked?" He said, "No, I told you I'm not paying attention to the floor." 5 minutes later, she wants to hang a picture. She said, "I'm missing a nail." So, let me go get you a nail. He runs downstairs, next to the bus stop, he picks up a nail, he comes back and he says, "Here is a nail." She said, 5 minutes ago, I told you, can you describe anything on the floor? You couldn't tell me one thing. Now when I needed a nail, you knew exactly where the nail is? How can it be? The answer is, because the nail and everything else that it's not important went automatically to be recorded in a subconscious. You don't need it for every day, every dirt on the floor. It will blow up the memory. It goes automatically to a different room. Everything's stored over there. Once in a lifetime you're going to need it, the brain will pull it out. But in the meantime, it goes all the way there, like computer, automatically. But when she needed the nail, right away, the brain took it from the subconscious and brought it to the conscious, and he knew exactly what. This is how it works. That's why the Torah says you have to be careful what you watch, what you see, what you hear, gossip, dirty things, dirty movies, that lack of modesty, idols. Very bad to look at them. To look at idol worshipping places. Even in pictures is not good. In reality, it's a lot worse. Why? Because even if you make repentance one day and you regret and you stop to do it and you pray for God to forgive you, those visions are recorded in your soul forever. You cannot delete it. And if you hypnotize a person, even if today is the chief rabbi of the world, you go back 50 years in time, everything comes out of his memory. Anything bad he saw when he was a teenager, still recorded. Even though he's 50 years learning Torah, he became the holiest person in the world. You dig into his subconscious, by hypnotizing him, everything is there. So the idea is not to stuff that with bad things. That's what the Torah says, לא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. Don't follow your eyes. It would lead you to places that you may lose control. It would lead you to a sin, and after that, it will be very painful. So let's conclude that, because time is running out. This is what it says. It says like this. The Rambam say, אל יעלה על הדעת שהוא אינו מצוי. אין דבר אחר יכול להימצאות. Rambam say, don't even think that it's possible that if he did not existed before, anything else was able to be created. Nothing was able to be created without him. Even the most minor thing in a creation, such a leaf on a tree, such as a piece of dust, who cares about this? Anything you may think of, it could not be created without his plan, his action, and his ability. So there's nothing in the world that you can say, this was made by itself. Okay, God made the whole world. He made the trees, he made people, fine, I know that. But this, it was made by itself. This rock, there was some kind of an explosion, and that's why you have this rock over here. No. Nothing in the world is unsupervised. Everything is supervised. I give you an example. You have a leaf that is about to fall from a tree. It's very loose. On the next wind, this leaf will fall. Now, when the leaf will fall, it can fall to the right, it can fall to the left, it can fall straight down, it can fly 100 yards away. Where the leaf is going to fall, is this coincidence? Or it also needs the approval of God, where to hit the ground, where to roll to, and what's going to be the destiny of that leaf. Do you think? This is a big philosophy question. Fine, the philosophers that admit that God made the world, some of them say he made the world and he left the world. He made the laws of nature, and now the world already have rules, and he stopped supervising the world. From now on, you have to take care of yourself. That's not a Jewish approach. The Torah doesn't say that, the opposite. The Torah says not only he created the world, he did not leave his supervision from the world for a second. Because if one transaction would be done without his approval, it will mess up all the justice in the world for eternity. Because one thing leads to another. It will mess up the entire system of justice, divine justice. I'll give you an example. If every second in the world there's 10 billion transactions, every second in the world, between people, giving checks, shaking hands, hitting each other, kissing each other, whatever the people do, 10 billion transactions a second. And only one of them, once a year, would be missed by his eyes. One transaction he missed. For instance, Reuven just gave a Shimon a punch. That's it. That part he didn't see. Everything else he saw. But he missed that punch. You may think, what's the big deal? So one punch he missed. The world is still the same. Reuven is still here. He didn't die from the punch. It cannot be. Why? Because let me tell you what happened. Shimon got angry that Reuven insulted him by giving him a punch. So he owed him money. Because of that, he didn't pay him the money. Because he didn't pay him the money, Reuven couldn't pay his landlord. He didn't pay his rent. The landlord threw him out of the house. One of his children was 1 month on the street. He met a drug dealer. The drug dealer gave him heroin. And he became addicted. And for his heroin, he needed to go and break into stores. And he went and robbed the store, and something went wrong, and he had to kill the guard. And the police came and shot him. And then he was supposed to have 1,000 children and grandchildren, and one of them was the chief rabbi of the world. So the punch prevented the birth of the most important person was supposed to come to the world in 15 years. And it affected the life of millions of people. The lectures he would make, the CDs he would make, the books he would write, it would affect the whole world. That's called the butterfly effect. The butterfly moves his wing right here in New York. Tomorrow it will affect Moshe in Tel Aviv. You understand what's happening here? So it cannot be one transaction that doesn't have a continuation for eternity. One thing leads to another. Even the most minor thing affecting the whole world. That's why it's impossible to create such a world and leave it 1 second for coincidence. It cannot be. The 1 millionth of a second was left for coincidence, the world could never be according to the rules of the Torah. Because the Torah says, I'm the God of the justice. I supervise everything. 1 second you left us, the whole world is gone. That's it. That's it. It can never do justice because now it's all coincidence leads to coincidence. We lost control. That's why it's not a logical assumption. So, okay. So now the leaf falls from the tree. The leaf falls from the tree. Now, where does the leaf fall? Does it make a difference in the world? Let me tell you. The leaf fell right here, 3 feet to the right. If it would fall 3 feet to the left, there's a big difference. Why? Let me tell you why. There was a bird 3 miles away about to starve to death. A wounded bird in the middle of the road. It got hit by somebody, lightning or something. It needs food now. If not, in 10 minutes, this bird would die. What happened? The leaf fell from the tree. And God wanted it to fall right in the middle of the road. He didn't want it to fall on the sidewalk. He wanted it to fall in the middle of the road. So he directed the leaf to fall exactly where he wanted. What do we care now about the leaf? What can come to the world from a piece of leaf? What is it? A carriage is coming. The leaf is sticking to the wheel of the carriage. It was raining an hour ago, so the leaf is wet. It got stuck to the wheel. It rolled. By an hour later, the sun came out. It got dried. It fell right where the bird is, or where the bird will get wounded in an hour from now. And the bird eats this leaf, and the bird survives. And the bird gives birth to other birds or eggs, whatever, and that's affecting the whole world. So even one tiny transaction, everything is supervised. Next thing, if you may think שאין כל הנמצאים מלבדו מצויים, הוא לבדו יהיה מצוי, ולא יבטל הוא לביטולם, שכל הנמצאים צריכים לו, והוא ברוך הוא אינו צריך להם, ולא לאחד מהם. לפיכך אין אמיתותו כאמיתות אחד מהם. Translation. You may think that it's a give and take relationship. Same thing, we need him. He supplies us with what we have. He made us. He gave us everything we need, but he needs us for his existence. Because he was limited, God forbid, in one way, he needed to make us to give him what he was missing. The Rambam says, don't even go to this direction. It's completely wrong. Why? The truth, his truth, is the ultimate perfect truth. Everything else in the world has some truth into it. But it's not the ultimate perfect truth. In this world, the Gemara says, it's Alma de Shikra, the world of a lie. Everything has a lie in it, to some extent. 1%, 10%, 50%, or 99%. Everything, nothing is 100% crystal pure. Why? That's the way Hashem made this world. This world of material, people with desires, even inclination. Nothing here is 100% perfect. Nothing. But him is 100% perfect. He has no limitation. He doesn't need anything. He was here forever before he made us. And after us, he will be here forever. He's not subject to time. He has no limitation. There's no other God to put him in a limit. He doesn't have an image, doesn't have a color, doesn't take size. He can be everywhere at the same time, simultaneously, with no limitation. Doesn't have any limitation of memory. Everything he wants will happen exactly as he wants. There's nothing he needs from us. So here comes the next question. According to the Torah, it seems to be, allegedly it seems, that there are certain things that he needs from human being, such as prayers. The Gemara say, why Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were barren? All three fathers, righteous people in the world, they're all barren. Their wives cannot give kids, cannot give birth. The answer is because God, enjoying so much the prayers and the tears of the righteous people, the connection that they made to him, that it was worth it for him to make them barren for X amount of years, for them to pray to him and to communicate with him. Another example. The Gemara say, why God doesn't give us our annual income in Rosh Hashana? Rosh Hashana is the judgment day. He already decided how much net profit we're going to make in the entire year. In that case, why is giving it to us drop by drop? Today a little bit, 2 days from now another deal. Next month, 2 weeks, nothing. Pressure, debt, credit card bills. One deal comes finally. Why it has to be this way? The answer is, the Gemara say, if a father has sons, and he said to his son, here is your annual income, take it all in advance. Next time you will see his son, he's on the next Rosh Hashana. Why? I have everything I need. I don't need him. Look, exactly, that's how it is today. If you have a teenage boy, and he wants X amount of money for something, you send him on a trip. If you give him week by week or month by month what he needs, let's say you send your son to yeshiva in Israel. If you give him all the money in advance for 1 year, I doubt that if you get one phone call the whole year. What does he need you? He has his friends, he's enjoying, he has the money. But if he needs the money every first of the month, 1 week before he calls to show that he's nice. And 10 days later, if the money didn't arrive, he called to inquire what's going on. It reminds me about one father. His son came to him and said, listen, I want to go on a trip, but I need $5,000. I'm going to South America with my friends for a month. So his father said, $5,000? He said, yeah, that's besides the air ticket and all that. So the father said, I tell you what, you want something from me? I want something from you. Let's make a deal. What's the deal? I will give you the $5,000, but if you promise me that you start putting tefillin on every day. Every day you put tefillin, I'll send you the money. So he said, that's the deal? He said, yeah, take your tefillin, clean the dust, and take it with you. So he said to him, fine, fair deal. So he said, here is 500 up front. Call me back in a week. Tell me if your evil inclination did not fool around with you. If you really put the tefillin every day, I'll wire you the money. So after a week, he calls him up. He said, Abba, you ready to wire the money? He said, yeah, the money is ready. You're putting tefillin every day? Every day, like we agreed. Okay, there's a little slight delay. You get the money, but in 1 week from now. No, why? I'm sorry. You get the money, don't worry. 4 or 5 days later, he calls. No, you're getting ready to send me the money? Yeah, it's ready. I just have to press send. You're putting tefillin every day? Yes, of course. Why? You don't trust me? What kind of father you are? You never trusted me. So the father told him, you liar, you fool. Inside the tefillin, I put $5,000 cash inside the pouch. It was all there. This is what God does to us. Everything is ready already for you. But you don't listen to me. You don't keep your part of the agreement. That's why you never get to it. There's an obstacle between you and the treasure. The obstacle is in your hand. You have the key, but you don't use it. What's the key? Tzedakah, Shabbat, modesty, kosher food, learning Torah. That's the key. Everything else comes. So, because the Torah described that God wants us to pray, and He wants us to be in touch with Him, and He wants us to listen to Him, God forbid He may show about some kind of a need that He has. He's missing something. That's His therapy. To see 7 billion people serving Him. bowing down to him, worshipping him, and makes him feel great. That's his limitation, no? It's limitation. It's a mental problem. If everyone wants everyone to bow down to him like Haman, that's an indication that something is not 100% by him, no? The answer is, God forbid, and oi to the foolish person who ever dared to think like this. Why? God already knew that we'll be foolish enough to think this way. So he wrote to us at least 50 times in the Torah and in the Tanakh that everything that he told us to do is only for our own good. He'd say, there's a verse, if you do this and this, what did you give him? If you do this and this and that, what do you do for him? He doesn't need you, and he doesn't need anything from you. And there's another verse, it says, V'asita yashar v'atov be'enei Hashem, you do what's good and decent in the eyes of your God, le'man yetav lach, for your own benefit. If you're going to listen to my laws, and you pass the test that I'm setting in front of you today, I will reward you for your own good, for you and your children after you. Or I will reward you for eternity. All these verses leaves no doubt. I don't need your prayer. I don't need you to keep Shabbat. You think I wasn't perfect before I created you? And trillions of years before you were made, nobody kept Shabbat. So what happened? However, it's a little bit deeper than that. I made a CD. It's called Path to the Just series. It has 21 lectures in the English one and 26 in the Hebrew one. So the purpose of this series is based on a classic ethic book called Path to the Just that was written by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, 250 years ago in Italy. It was the legendary Kabbalist, a huge Chacham. So he wrote basically a book about the purpose of life, about this world, about the next world, how this world is a preparation for the next world, and how and why Hashem gave us so many hard tests, and is testing us, and why there's reward and punishment, and where is the place of the reward. Basically, he answered almost every question a person asks in his lifetime in one book. I made it in a more easy language to understand. That's why I made this series, which became a big success. Even non-Jews reported to me, hundreds of them, that it changed their entire life. Their entire life. Boss, people, business people. So after I heard that, my whole view on life changed. Goyim, non-Jews, which they also have reward and punishment and free choice, etc., is on a lower level. The reward is lower, the punishment is lower, and the test is lower. But they have heaven and hell, just like the Jews, in different place, but heaven and hell. They can be righteous Gentile or wicked Gentile. They have to keep much less commandments. But if they do it, they consider righteous. And if a Jew doesn't keep, he's considered a wicked Jew. Wicked doesn't mean evil. It can be a fantastic heart, great heart. Everyone loves him, friendly, funny, charismatic, smart. Wicked. What makes him wicked? Eat shrimps. It's not evil. He likes shrimps. What do you want from him? That make him wicked? Yes. Why? He dares to violate the rules of his creator. The creator gives him oxygen, gives him water, gave him the ability to eat, and told him, don't dare to eat it. You're a Jew, I don't allow it. I allow it to the nations. I don't allow you to eat this. This is out of your territory. What does he say? Just give me all the good and be quiet. Somebody like that is wicked. Not for me, not for him, but for him. Now what's worse? Someone was nice to the whole world, the nicest person, but is very ungrateful every second of his life to his creator who gives him what he needs to survive. Or someone who is nasty to the whole world, but is the nicest with him. He does everything he can for him. Everything. Shabbat, Tefillin, praying, whatever. But he's a nasty person. What's worse? On the street, 99.9% of the people would say, he's better. Look, everyone loves him. What a friendly guy. How many people would say that the cold, nasty person is better? Almost no one. Why? Doesn't matter. But overall, he keeps all the laws. It's not perfect, of course. Some of the things he's not doing correctly, but he acknowledges God, he thanks him, he asks for him anything, he prays to him, he doesn't steal, keeps Shabbat, his wife is modest, he is modest, he learns Torah a few hours every day, never cheat in his business. He's not nice, doesn't say hello to people. He doesn't run to volunteer in anything. But it's not nobody wants this guy around us. So technically, you make a survey, not one vote he's going to get. But reality-wise, 1 billion times better than the one who was nice to everyone and spit in the face of his God, right? That's why I always say, better to be a non-Jew that listens to God than a Jew who doesn't listen to God. Why? Because a non-Jew who listens to God is not a criminal. A Jew who doesn't listen to God is a criminal. So you chose. Even though the Torah says, you are my children, I chose you from all the nation to be mine. I don't give you permission to be like the nations as far as clothing and things and customs and the things that they do. I'm warning you from their idols worshipping. Today, it's that we live here in New York, we don't see that much idol worshipping. But if you go to Thailand, India, all these places in the Far East, in China, almost every street has idol worshipping. People bow down to idols, people dance around Buddha, people sacrifice all kinds of things in all kinds of places in the world. The world is full of idol worshipping. But idol worshipping is not only Oriental people or Indians who bow down to their idols or put the idols in the closet and do all kinds of strange things. No. Or Indians who bow down to their cow. Idol worshipping can be a Christian lawyer who works with you every day. He goes to the church and he stands over there on Sunday. He's trying to be decent and good, but he doesn't know that right now he gets God very, very angry by saying the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Right there he loses his share to the world to come. He loses heaven, and he cannot be a righteous Gentile. Why? Because the God warned the Jews and the non-Jews. It's equal to the non-Jews as well. Never to dare to make me any partner, any entity, any son, any wife, any helper, nothing whatsoever. Giving divine power to another individual, no matter who he is. No matter who he is. It's a violation of idol worshipping. By the way, it's coming by Jews as well. Many Jews say that the rabbi is the Messiah, or the rabbi never died, or the rabbi can control who's going to marry who, and if you want to make a living, if you're not going to ask from the rabbi, it's never going to happen, and if you want to know the future, you have to open his book, and he'll tell you from his grave what to do. This is exactly what the Christians say, with some modifications. They make some changes. So it's not necessarily Christians. It's the ideology of giving power to another entity, especially when nobody ever saw him and nobody ever saw anything about him, and the books is full of human errors, not to talk about this. Assume there's no mistake. Assume there are witnesses that he made magic. Like the Talmud brings many rabbis who were able to do all kinds of magics. Magics is not an indication of anything. The Torah said that Moses, he threw the cane on the floor and he became a snake. The Egyptian wicked kids, they threw their canes and they also became snake. So God wanted to show us that even the most wicked Gentiles in the history, in Egypt, they're all idols worshipping. They worship the sheep. They worship the Niles. They are able to take a cane and turn it into a snake. So magic is not an indication of holiness. So even if the stories that they tell about JC, that he rise 3 days after from his grave, and that he walked on water, that he made magics, etc., it's not even relevant. Even if there was billions of witnesses to this, still doesn't make him divine. If he's divine, there's 5 million other rabbis who are divine. He's not divine, and they are not divine. None of them is divine. Divine means a person can become spiritually holy. If you live according to the Torah and you isolated from the phony world, you don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't make sex crimes, you don't look at dirty things, you elevate your holiness. And obviously if you give someone a blessing, the blessing will help more than just an ordinary person who will give him a blessing. Why? Because you are a friend of God. He loves you more than him. Why? Because you listen to him. This is what he said about Abraham. I love Abraham. He didn't write about me in the Torah that he loves me. He didn't write about you. Why are you laughing? But he wrote, I love Abraham. Why? Because he listened to everything I told him. And I gave him the Torah. Before the Jews received the Torah, Avraham Avinu already had the Torah. Why I love him? 2 reasons. He always listened and kept all my laws. And because I knew that when I give him those laws, he will make sure to inherit them to his children. It's not enough to keep it for yourself and let your children be junkies on the street. No. The mission is to transfer your knowledge and holiness to your family, to your children. Sometimes a person is not exactly holy in his behaving, or in his level, or the way he looks, or in his Torah knowledge, but he has something that called הרבה זכויות, lots of merits. I'll give you an example. Let's say there was the wife of Rabbi Akiva. A story, the famous story. Rabbi Akiva comes from a family of converts. He was 40 years old, completely ignorant. Doesn't know anything, doesn't know Aleph Bet, doesn't know how to read, to write, nothing. 40 years old. He's cleaning horses by a rich man named Kalba Savua. The rich man has a princess daughter, very righteous, modest, beautiful, rich, smart, everything. All the skills. What is she? She saw that he's shy, he has good personality. So she told him, if I'll agree to marry you, she knew he loves her, he works there in their house. She said, if I'll agree to marry you, you promise me to go to yeshiva and learn Torah and to become somebody big? He said yes. So she pushed him into yeshiva. She told him, don't worry about me, I'll be here alone. They lived in poverty. Her father cut her out of his will. 24 years she suffered. Besides letting her husband go to yeshiva, basically she did nothing. That was really the one thing that she did. Nowhere you see that she kept Shabbat more than other people, or that she was more modest than any other woman. Everyone was modest. She was modest. Everyone ate kosher. She ate kosher. There were many poor people living in poverty. So what did she do? One thing. She told her husband, instead of hugging me and kissing me and drink red wine with me every night, entertain me like the wives today. Rabbi, my husband come 8 o'clock at night. It leaves no time to be with him. Why he comes 8 o'clock? He goes to minyan. Can't you tell him to pray home? This is what you hear today. Instead of saying, I'm happy, my husband is a righteous man, he works so hard, he goes to the shul, he learns a little bit between Mincha and Arvit or after Arvit. The world is not exactly what it used to be. So basically everything that other women did, she did. But one thing she did right, she sent him to learn Torah. He came back after 24 years with 24,000 holy students. So when she came to see him, imagine there was a big a collection of people there. I said, woman, what are you going in between all the men? It's not modest. Nobody knows she is. So he saw that she comes. He said, everyone move, let her come. And then he said to them, all the Torah that I have, and everything you have, which is hundreds of trillions and billions and trillions of mitzvot, you can't even calculate it, belongs to her. Now, even though technically, besides sending him to yeshiva, like I said, personally, she didn't do anything that made her more holy than other women around the neighborhood. Like I said, they're all modest, they all kept Shabbat, they all eat kosher, the same thing. If she will give you a blessing, the chance that God would listen to it is 100 times or 1,000 times more than one of the other modest neighbors. Why? That's called zchuyot. She has merits. Her bank account in heaven is loaded. Somebody rich, people listens to him. Somebody poor, nobody pays attention to him. It's in this world like this, and also in the next world is like this. There's only one difference. Over here you rich with pieces of paper, and over there you rich with divine credits. There's a big difference. So if you're rich with mitzvot, even if you don't look like any Baba holy, cover your head with a turban, your beard sweeping the floor when you walk. None of these things. You don't go like this, close your eyes. pretend that you do meditation. None of these things. You don't wear all white. You don't say in the middle of the forest, 3 o'clock at night. None of these strange things that people do. Just an ordinary person. But you sponsor a yeshiva for 10 years already. Everyone learns Torah with your money. You sponsor CDs. Thousands of people became religious with your money. Do nothing. You're even half religious. Barely keeping Shabbat. Dress 80% like Vini, 20% like Yosef. Look at you. You're afraid to put your yarmulke. Maybe Tony, your partner, will get upset that you're too religious. Looking at you, nobody will even give you a pass mark. Rate this Jew 25 from 100. But one mitzvah he does, gets him billions of mitzvot, he rates him very high. That's called zchuyot. Yesh lo zchuyot. Yes, individually is not holy. Yes, individually is barely religious. But his bank account is loaded with mitzvot that his money brought for him. Or other things, not necessarily money. For instance, he's a computer genius. He developed a software that was able to distribute Torah to all over the world. That was his intention. He did it for the sake of Torah. And it worked. Thanks to him now, thousands of people learn Torah, seeing each other. There's all kinds of programs, virtual yeshiva, whatever you call it. He gets a piece of the action. That's called zchuyot. Mamash, I want to finish in a few more minutes. So the Rambam continue. The Rambam say, this first entity is the master of universe. All the energy that turned the earth around, the earth turns around in 1700 kilometers per hour. That's the speed of earth. That's what determined that day and night will be 24 hours exactly. If the earth would go 1% slower or 1% faster, all your $100,000 Rolex, put them in a garbage because they could never tell time. Because now the earth is going a little bit faster this month, next month a little bit slower. So the only way to do it is that it's always going to stay the same speed. So who turns the earth, who stands in space? Nothing is holding it. It stands in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't shake. It turns around. It's beautiful. It's the same distance from the sun. All the galaxies are moving. Who does all this? We know in physics, to move something you need energy. You cannot move a basketball without energy comes from your hand. You can't move anything without energy. You want to move a plane, you need fire. Fire creates, איך אומרים הדף? To push. Thrust. So this is create energy. No energy, no movement. The biggest mystery, who moves all this galaxy? Where is the energy? No energy. So this is it. So he moves everything. And we don't have, the Rambam writes, the ability to understand his power and brilliance. And he's never gonna stop. He's never gonna run out of power. And someone who disagrees with everything that I say so far is called KOFER. The Muslim copy that, they called it kufar. But it's really KOFER. KOFER means, it's hard to define the right word. I will say it a little bit in a strict way, an enemy of God. Somebody might come and say, why you define me as enemy of God? You know how many times a day I kiss the mezuzah? When I'm in a hospital, the first one I call to is to God. He may be right. He may believe in God. He believes in Moshe. He even kissed the beard of the rabbi when he came to visit him. But he said, there's few things I don't believe in. I don't believe the Messiah will come one day. I think it's a fairy tale. Already lost his share to the world to come. No games. One word, you lost everything. I don't believe the dead will rise back from the graves, resurrection of the dead. That doesn't make sense. I don't believe there is afterlife. I don't believe there's life of eternity. I don't believe that the reward is in the afterlife. I think it's right here. Grab as much as you can. Anything that a person says that it contradicts the 13th principle of Judaism, which is the principle of the Torah. It's called KOFER ba'ikar. KOFER ba'ikar. One of those principles is to give power to another entity, which means to say, yeah, God can do it, but he also can do it. That's why Christianity right away lost their righteousness. Even if they do whatever they do, it will never help them, because they believe in another son of God that they made up. Some say son of God, some say the Messiah, some say both, some say nothing. It's all kinds of theories. One way or the other, giving a power to another. And also among Judaism, there's many cults in history that takes a holy rabbi and make him with divine and claim that he runs and he control and he sees everything, and they make him like a little mini god or a big god, etc. Same thing. It's already called kfira. And one more thing, this God is one and not two or three or any. Only one. And there's nothing in the world that is so one like him. He's a perfect one. And it's not one that it's combined by many mini ones, like a system, like a car. It's one car, but it's 5,000 pieces combined. You take two of them out, the car doesn't ride. It's not a combination of many that turn into one. It's a one solid one. That's it. Not two that made into one. Okay, it's important to know this. And doesn't have an edge, doesn't have a size. It's unique like nothing else. Doesn't have a body, doesn't have material. He's not subject to anything. He does not depend on anything. He cannot increase or decrease. He cannot be improved or disproved. Or anything that applies to us as the creation doesn't apply to him. He is endless, eternal. He will never die or will never lower his power in any way. He's separate from any other thing you can imagine. And this, what I just said, is mitzvah from the Torah. Where does it say in the Torah everything in one verse? Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. Listen Israel, our God, Hashem Elokeinu, is our God, Hashem Echad. Also we say Hashem Echad, Ushmo Echad. It's one God, and his name is one God, which means it's not a combination of many things who made one name. Like a body. Body is two hands, two legs, two eyes, one head. That's body. Body is falling into many different organs. But Hashem doesn't have many different things that turn him into one Hashem. Hashem Echad, Ushmo Echad. It was always one, the same one. As it says, Ani Hashem lo shaniti. I am God, is not subject to any change. Never ever. Also it says, if you try to understand my brilliance, and the way I think, and the way I operate, you have no choice. כי לא מחשבותיי מחשבותיכם, ולא דרכי דרככם. My ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. You, in order for you to do one transaction, you can do one transaction at a time. You can't write English in one hand and Hebrew in the other hand at the same time. You need two brains for it. I, however, can do endless amount of transaction in 1 second. I can make a tsunami in Thailand. At the same time, I can put rain in Jerusalem. I can do this, I can do that, everything. I can move things around, save a plane from crash, animals, birds. Trillions of transactions. If one of them would go wrong, it will affect the whole world. I supervise and move around simultaneously. I don't need a brain. I can divide myself as many as I want. I have no limitation in how many operating systems I have. That's why you only see 1 billionth of the world and you try to understand. Where was God in the Holocaust? Who gave you permission to ask? In order for you to be able to ask this question, you have to first be in a level of understanding all the generation, all the reincarnation, all the souls, where these souls were in a previous life, where they live, what sins did they do, who are the Nazis, who are them from the Torah. You don't know one detail. You see something that looks very cool. You begin to judge. You're not in a level to judge. You don't know. I give you an example. You come to a movie. The movie is 2 hours. They say to you, you can't see the movie. You can only see 10 seconds from the movie. We get you in the theater, 10 seconds, and we get you out. They pushed you in. You see one person holding a big knife, and he sticks it in the chest of another person who lay on a bed, and the other person doesn't move, and he cut, tons of blood is coming out, and they push you out of the theater. Now the guy comes with a microphone. Okay, how can you conclude the film? Outrageous. I'm telling you, it's outrageous. This such a wicked guy, this blonde guy. He's a murderer, cold-blooded murderer. You should see how he was cutting someone's chest. He didn't even care. Blood coming out. He didn't regret. I'm telling you, horrible. And the filmmaker who made that movie, it's a lunatic. I have to put him in a mental institution. Everyone says, wow, look at what a review he gave to the movie. Then they say to him, come to the movie for another 5 minutes. He goes in, he sees now the next 5 minutes. Or the previous 5 minutes. What does he see? That person on the bed got a heart attack down the street. So they brought him into the emergency room. And this doctor was on the way to lunchtime. His steak was ready. He was about to attack his steak. And they told him, emergency. Right away, he put his jacket, he ran, he took the knife. No time. That's it. The person isn't going to be dead. So he cut his chest open. And then while he didn't see in the movie that the nurse is bringing all the machines and everything. So now, after being inside for 5 minutes, this wicked murderer and the filmmaker turned into saint. That's the answer to everyone who asks how God let this happen, how he let that happen. Don't ask questions. You're not in a position to ask questions. God said, I'm merciful. Believe him. He's not a liar. God said, I give everyone what they deserve. If you don't trust him, who you trust? You trust your psychologist, you trust your lawyer, you trust your accountant, you trust Obama. They're all lying to you. The one who never lied, everything he say, you question. That's the way the world is. Why? You don't understand him. Okay, I'm God. Rambam say, Ilu yedativ haitiv. If I knew everything about him, I would be him. I don't have his ability. So it says now, Rambam say, since I said God doesn't have an image or a body, how is it that it says in the Torah, the hand of God, the chair of God, Etzba Elokim, the finger of God? Why? It shows that God has a body, God forbid, no? We just say doesn't. But in the Torah, there's all kinds of verses. The answer is, the Torah speaks to people in a language people understand and relates to. When you tell people, I'm going to be angry and strike my hand on that city to destroy them, how exactly you explain to them? So you say, I'm going to strike my hand on them, that means I will smash them to pieces. So people understand what it means. You have to speak to people in a language they understand. If you don't speak to them in a language they understand, that's why there's not that much information about heaven. Just one sentence. The righteous people sitting with a special crown to their heads and enjoy the greatness of God. And that's it. And another place, there's one more information about it. If you take all the pleasure of all the people, of all the generations, any kind of pleasure, and combine them from the beginning of the world, trillions of people that lives here, from Adam until now, all of them combined, food, money, jewelry, vacation, pride, honor, whatever you want. You add everything combined, will not be equal to the reward and the pleasure of the righteous people in the afterlife. 1 hour. 1 hour already greater than all the pleasure of people killing themselves for vacation here, vacation there, 10 minutes of pleasure here, 1 hour of pleasure over there. Life is full of misery. If you take the 80 years that we live here and combine the happy moments, you don't even have 1 year of happiness from the 80 years. Take off the sleeping, take off the traffic, take off the time you work and your boss is on your head, and miserable. Take the headache that your wife and your children makes for you, or the other way around. Taxes, jails, police, tickets, sicknesses, surgeries, recoveries, aggravation, insult, shame, poverty. Take everything. How much pleasure a person has. Take Bill Gates, $60 billion. Connect him to a lie detector. So from the time you became a billionaire until now, can you add all the pleasure you have, like you really were happy? How do I know? He will say right away, I didn't have any happiness. Because in my own ears and my own eyes, I saw him in an interview in Israel, that the woman asked him on Prime News. She told him, Mr. Gates, word by word, you are the right person to ask the famous question. No, what's the question? Does money buy happiness? He could have said, no, not exactly, but he got angry. He got tough. Say, like this, absolutely not. Nothing. It only brings some convenience. It doesn't bring any happiness. And what did he say? One more sentence. He said, to make everyone understand that he's not lying. He said, when I'll die, I would leave my children only $10 million each. And the rest I will all give for charity. That means they can't even buy a house in Cedarhurst. Maybe we'll collect donations to Mr. Bates, Bill Gates Jr., you know? Right? Moshe that sells vegetables in Israeli market with his pants down, picking up watermelons on his back, will have more money than Mr. Bates, Bill Gates Jr. But whether he's going to do it or not, I doubt it. But the bottom line, he made his point clear. It doesn't bring happiness. Because the person gets right away used to his wealth. Right away. As soon as he moved into his new home, he's excited 2-3 months. That's it. He got used to it. He got used to it. Forgot there was shoe shine in Lexington Avenue 6 months ago. I heard that the king of Norway, did you hear about this? I don't know the whole story. You tell me if you know. He decided to pretend that he's a taxi driver for a few days. The king of Norway put a hat, a uniform. Huh? Rosh Mמשלה, the prime minister. 1 week or a few days he was driving a cab. But the people don't really see his face. You know, imagine now you go into a cab. By the end of the ride, you find out Obama was the driver. You know? So, all these things, the Torah speaks in a language. Now, one last question for today, and the rest maybe I'm going to continue in the next lecture. What is it that Moshe in the Torah was begging God to know? Moshe was begging God. What did he say? It says like this, Ar'eni na et kvodecha. Dear God, he asked few questions to God. One thing he asked, why righteous people suffer, why wicked people celebrate? Tzadik vera lo, rasha vetov lo. He asked why this baby, Micha, is going to be killed now when he didn't even make a sin. We all ask the same questions. But he also asked God, Ar'eni na et kvodecha, show me your honor, your secret. And he told him, you can't see my face, but you can see my back. The real secret here, no person can see me and stay alive. The holiness of me, when a person sees me, he cannot stay in a physical body. He die right away. But when they die, everyone will see me. Shneimar, lefanav yichreu kol yordei afar. Everyone will bow down to him in the time of going into the grave. Okay. One more thing, he said, what does it mean you can't see my face, but you can see my back? It doesn't have an image. No back, no front, no image, no nothing. It means when I do something, you can't understand it. After it happens, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years later, one day you'll understand what I did. If not in this world, guarantee when you die, I'll show you everything. Well, when I do things you can't understand because you have no ability to see all the connections. You only see very limited and local. You don't see all the stripes that goes all over the world. That's what God answered him. And since all these words of the Torah and the prophets, that it says God is laughing at people's stupidity, God is angry in their sins. God is happy that they did such and such. Right? All of that is only parables, analogies. The Torah speaks in a language that people understand. God doesn't get angry, doesn't cry, he doesn't get upset, he doesn't get disappointed, and he doesn't need Prozac. Everything is just for me and you to understand what it means. I made that sin, God is crying. Tzar HaShechina. It's really crying? He has tears? No, he doesn't have tears. He doesn't have tears, it's physical. It's water. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have a hand. He doesn't have eyes. He doesn't have all this. Why? But for me to communicate with him, he speaks to me in a language I understand. Just like we speak to our babies. Think. Make a video of someone who speaks to his 2-year-old baby. He speaks different than he speaks every day. He speaks to him with dolls, with pictures. He imitates babies. Why he has to speak to him? Huh? If he speaks like this in his office to his employee, they call 911. But when his kid, he speaks to him in a language he understands. Right? He gives him a candy. Why he gives him a candy? He gives his lawyer candy when he saved him $1 million. Give him lollipop. Here, lawyer, take lollipop. Why not? Lawyer wants the check. Doesn't want lollipop. Kids, you come to the kid and give him $1 million check and a lollipop. What will he take? Since we spoke about lollipop, I want to finish with a funny story. Send you home with a smile. Just 2 weeks before the Judgment Day, one father and mother decided to leave their children home and go on vacation. So they say to the older boy, listen, you're 15 already. You can handle them, no? Say, yeah, sure. Oh, 1 week we go and we come back. He left some money in a drawer, okay. A week later, now the father has an ancient coin that worth millions of dollars. Some archaeologist found it, he bought it in a bargain, it's worth fortune now. He always kept that coin for the days he's going to need to marry all his children and buy them homes. So he kept that hidden under a pile of clothes in the closet. Somehow the kid was looking for something to wear. He found a big gold, ancient, with pictures, coin, heavy, but not the gold. It's from the old days. So the kids say, we want lollipop. We want lollipop. So he said, okay, let's go to the store. Here, I hope that this coin will buy us 5 lollipops. So they go on the street. They went to the grocery store. They bought 5 lollipops. A few days later, the father comes back. What does the father comes back from a vacation? What's the first thing he does? Lock his bedroom and run to check if the coin is there, no? Huh? There's no coin. All the pleasure of the vacation went down the tube. He runs. Anyone touch the coin? So the boys say, yeah, they wanted lollipop. They drove me crazy. So I went to the grocery store. I bought them 5 lollipop. But why with the coin, you fool? We put money in the drawer. Which grocery? Right there. He runs to the grocery stores full with customers. He comes to the owner. He said, where is the coin that my son gave you 3 days ago? Where is the gold coin? He said, what gold coin are you talking about? He didn't give me any gold coin. Are you crazy? Give me the coin. No coin. My kids came and they bought lollipop. Don't be a liar. I saved this coin. It's mine. So I swear to you, he just gave me 10 shekel. And it was short half a shekel. I gave him a discount. Don't lie. Don't buy here. He's a liar. He's a crook. He takes advantage on kids. The rumor in Yerushalayim spreads right away. The owner of the grocery has a beard and a yarmulke, but he's a crook. He's a faker. Nobody comes to buy from him. Put him out of business. The father lost his wealth. The coin disappeared. Everyone talks Lashon Hara, gossip, 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 non-stop. That's it. 15 years later, somebody comes, knock on his door, the father. He opens the door. He's a rich man, fancy suit, expensive watch. He said to him, this belongs to you, I believe. The coin. So he said to him, wow, it's my coin. Where did you find it? So let me tell you a story. 15 years ago, I walked in the street. I see a bunch of religious kids walks in the street, and the oldest one was holding this coin. I used to be a professor for archaeology. As soon as I saw that coin, I know it's worth fortune. I didn't believe it's real. Well, the kid walks with it in the street. So I told him, let me see it. I looked at that. I said, what are you going to do with that? He said, we're going to buy 5 lollipops with that. So I gave him 10 shekel, and I took the coin. I gave it to the bank as collateral. I took millions of dollars loan. I opened a big factory business. I became a multi-millionaire. I married all my 10 children. All of them live in fancy homes. All of them has their own businesses. Today, I made the last payment to my mortgage, to my loan. I finished to pay. I own my factory. All my children are wealthy. I have no use for this coin anymore. Now I came to do mitzvah of Hashavat Aveda. It's also religious. The Torah says, Ve'eshiv takzela. 15 years I had it illegally in my hand. Now I came to return it to you. Give it to him and left. Now the question is like this. The owner of the grocery, what happened to him? What happened to him? His life was destroyed. Out of business, he had to move out of town. Everywhere he go, he has to hide. People say he's a crook, took advantage on the kids, but he was very innocent. So he's going express to heaven. Why? The Torah says if you're not guilty, and they spill your blood in public everywhere, and everyone point at you and make your life miserable and you're innocent, it takes away all your sins. So he went express to heaven. So did he lose from that? He only gained.
That also.
Wait. The person that stole the coin, he took it from a kid. The kid was bar mitzvah. He didn't steal it. He offered him 10 shekel. The fool agreed. So he bought it. But he knew he took advantage on a boy. He knew it. So he didn't want to be a crook to keep the coin. So now I'm going to return it. So he's not a sinner. And if he was, he just made tshuva. He returned it. He asked, forgive me, I'm sorry, here it is, goodbye. The father, he went and screamed in a grocery. He went, but what his eyes showed him. It was certain. The kid didn't tell him I replaced it. That part he left out of the story. I went to buy in a grocery with that. So he followed the evidence. So who is the criminal in this story? Who is the criminal? The people of Jerusalem, the audience. Gossip all day. Crook, the thief, the crook, that. Father, what kind of stupid father leaves a kid alone, gives him $1 million coin? Everyone got hurt from the story. The 3 main actors got clean out of it. Father got back his coin. He was innocent. That person went express to heaven. And the one person returned the coin and is not guilty. This is the moral of the story is when 2 giant rabbis argue, he say allowed, he say not allowed, he say go, he say don't go. What are we, the ordinary people, to push our nose into giants' arguments? When 2 big doctors argue, 30 years brain surgeon, 40 years brain surgeon. What do we know about brain? What we read in Google? What do we know about brains? He's a good doctor. He's stupid. He's bad. I won't do this. What are you talking about? Come to Shiur Torah. Never read the Torah once in his life. Jew, non-Jew, whatever. Already have 5 million speeches against the Torah, against the religion, and against the religious people and the rabbis. Ask him, be honest 1 second. Did you read the Torah once in your life from the beginning to the end that you understand the meaning of the words? Forget the secret, forget the oral Torah, forget the billions of things you have to know. Like this giant rabbi who learned 70, 80 years non-stop with a computer brain. You'll never know 1/1,000,000% of what they know, and you argue to criticize them. What kind of a fool you are? I'm talking to myself and to all of us. The idea is like this. We are 2 weeks before Rosh Hashana. Everyone has to take himself serious. It's getting late. We have to make repentance. Not only Jews, non-Jews also get judged. Most of them don't know it. The whole world get judged on Rosh Hashana, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now. That's it. That's it. 3 weeks from now, we're all going to stand in front of Hashem. Lefanav ovrim kmo bnei maron, like the sheep who comes out of the gate, one by one, every 10th one, they brushed the paint on him, because he has to go to the Bet HaMikdash, to the Kohen. That's how everyone goes in front of Hashem. In seconds, the whole world is going on a judgment. Who is going to get tsunami? What country will fight brothers and brothers? Egypt, Syria, all these things that you see now was all decided in last Rosh Hashana. What will happen for the next year in 3 weeks from now. Up to now, whether you had a good year, whether you had a bad year, mediocre year, whatever you had, this Rosh Hashanah, it's a new life. Whatever you had, you had. Hashem can chas v'shalom turn it all to bad, or everything to good. People who couldn't find a job, they can find now a job. Or the other way around. People business were booming, Hashem will bring you competition across the street. 50% of the business will be gone in a month. People who couldn't find shidduch, can't find who to marry. Right after Rosh Hashanah, it will be determined. Maybe for next year, Hashem will let you marry, or not. So all the decision will be made. Based on what? Based on the previous year. The previous year is gone almost. 11 and a half months is behind us. It's 2 weeks to save. How exactly are we going to save in 2 weeks what we broke in 11 months? Lots of charity, lots of prayers, lots of regrets, lots of tears, and shame, and to accept, never to repeat the sins. No more gossip, Hashem, I'm sorry, give me a chance to start. Go to all the people, I'm sorry for what I did for you, I owe you money, I cannot pay you, give me maybe 2 years payment plan, let me start paying you, let's work out some kind of a peace between husband and wife, between parents and children, between partners, between neighbors. You don't always have to be right. It's better to be smart than right. In the end, Hashem gives everyone what they deserve. So what's the point of being right here for a year or two? The idea is when you live the world, you want to leave it clean. You don't want to owe anyone, you don't want enemies, you don't want people to say, finally we got rid of him. You want to be good with everyone. And the most important thing, you want Hashem to say, Bni Bechori, Ephraim asher bo et pa'ar. This is my son, my glory. I'm proud of this Jew, I'm proud of this Goy, this righteous Goy, or righteous Jew. The Gemara says, Goy that is righteous is like a Kohen in Bet HaMikdash. Believe it or not. And a Jew that is wicked, chas v'shalom, can make more sins than Hitler. Depends what he does. If he writes against religion in the internet and millions of people read and they become less religious, it's much worse than Hitler. Hitler killed bodies. He destroys souls that would lose their eternity. He destroyed one person, it can be like 50,000 people who died. Because the people who died, every one of them lost 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their life. Adds all the life that Hitler stole combined, will not be one Jew that you make him not religious. You take one Jew that was very religious, you convince him with all your brainwash and nonsense and lies and manipulation to leave the religion, to take drugs, to go to the bar, to marry Christine, whatever, everyone with his nonsense. And what happened? It will reflect on his children, grandchildren, grandchildren, and then when they die, each one of them don't lose 50 years, they lose their eternity. So one Jew you destroyed, one. It's already more years than Hitler destroyed the entire Jewish nation. So that's why it's very dangerous to be Mahti Arabim. That's why if you did that, you have to give everything you have to save that soul that you brought him off the right way. Whether it was your brother, whether it was your children, whether it was your friend, stranger, a person has to do everything he can. Now, if you cannot save that particular one, invest on saving others. It's a game of number, like flyers. You put 10,000 flyers in windshields. 30 customers come. 30 out of 10,000. 10,000, only 30 come. 30 put food on your children's mouth. The 30. Without the 10,000, they will not come, the 30. It's a game of number. You put 10,000 CDs. 3, 4, 5, 700 people will become Shomrei Shabbat. They're all yours forever. Game of number. Be smart. Bye mitzvot. Not that much time left. 2 weeks. Thank you very much again for the second time I'm here. Beautiful. We have a date, and next time will be after Sukkot. After Sukkot. Thank you very much. Shana Tova, everyone.